So here's the example of deep water and floating rice. You have to be able to grow this kind of rice on a lake or in estuaries because see, it requires a great deal of water. What happens is that this kind of rice has very, very deep roots and a very tall stem. It's just really good for areas that have deeper water, and you still want to be able to grow rice. There's another kind of rice that's called floating rice, and it can grow and float in clumps. This is the rice paddy method, where you're using a lot of irrigation. You have a lot of water, and you're sophisticated enough so that you can pump it up in these paddy areas. And this is very commonly found in China. You can see spots like this look very similar in Japan. The one on the right is in Bali. It's just so beautifully green. Very common. Mushy mud. It's a lot of work. You have to make sure the field is plowed correctly. Very, very labor intensive. Good example of being labor intensive. This is a woman planting rice. You've first grown a lot of rice very thickly in seed beds, and then you have to pull it out carefully, and you have to replant it so that the little plants are far enough apart. One thing that's really wonderful about this kind of paddy with all the water in it is because very spontaneously, in a short period of time, you're going to find frogs and fish and crabs growing in the water of these paddy fields. Who knows where they all come from? Sometimes then you can have ducks. Also, they're going to be swimming around, and they're going to clean off the insects from these rice plants. So it forms its own really sophisticated ecosystem. And of course, the ducks then are fertilizing the rice plants. So here we have an example of the harvest being ready. All the water is drained off because this is a paddy field. It's not deep rice growing. So this is a beautiful, beautiful, ripe rice heads. So those all have to be cut off. Then this is threshing, where you're going to try to take the rice off of the rice straw. It's a lot of work. Everything about rice is very labor intensive in most of Asia, unless you're using sophisticated equipment, which they do have actually in Japan. They have like these miniature trailers and sophisticated equipment, but most of the rest of Asia relies upon a lot of manpower and women power. So after threshing, you're going to have to bag all this stuff, and you're going to have a really good storage area for it. It can't get wet because it'll get moldy. This is one of the issues about sustainability, is that you have to have really good storage areas for rice. Here we have dry rice farming. You can see how different this looks. This is an area that doesn't get very much rainfall, so you're tossing out some rice before the rainfall season comes, and you're hoping pretty much that it's going to grow. This is really rough. This is a really tough kind of farming to do for rice.